Welcome to Stitch and Thread. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel we are usually talking about knitting. And today I have a regular podcast episode for you, so I will be sharing what I finished. Spoiler alert, 2 objects I have today. I have quite a lot of whips, surprisingly, on my needles, and even some acquisitions and plans at the very end. So quite a standard podcast episode for you today. We are in the middle of Heatwave here in the UK, so I will probably try to go quickly. I'm not sure if I will be putting anything on just for my own benefit, but surprisingly had quite a lot of knitting done in the last month. So yeah, let's jump into it. And my first knitted project, which bearing in mind is over 30 degrees outside, seems so out of place, but it is what it is, right? Because overall I was preparing it for autumn season for my daughter. So this is a finished Hanano cardigan, my size, by Sarah Antipenkov, and I've knitted it in a West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite lace in color Rose. I held 2 strands of the lace weight yarn, West Yorkshire Spinners, with a Rowan Kidsilk Haze. So I love the combination. I'm sure I've talked about it before, so I will not go too much into the details. So last time when I showed it to you on my podcast, I believe I had the whole body done, so I needed to do 2 sleeves, and as you can see, they're finished, as well as, unfortunately, need a double knit a button band. So the sleeves went down reasonably well, to be honest, over the last months. The only thing, I don't know, it's just me, there are quite a few decreases here in half fisherman's rim, and the designer have a video tutorial. I think it's just Andrea Maris video tutorial, but nonetheless there's a video, and even though I've knitted 2 sleeves, every single decrease I had to go and rewatch that video. I didn't find the decreases in half fisherman's rim particularly memorable in any way, so I feel like next time I need to do them, I would still need to go and watch a video. So honestly, the visual possibility nowadays just amazing. I don't think with the description it would be easy for me to do it, so really happy. I think I've also lowered my needle size from the suggested for the ribbing. When I started, I felt that my needle stitches are still too big and my ribbon still looks a little bit flopsy. So as you can see, I think I went like 0.25 needles down, and yeah, very happy with the result. I think it looks neater. Let me just find you the hem. So you can see hem here, that's how it looks. And this in comparison when I just went down the needle size. Not sure if the camera will show, but I can clearly see the difference. So sometimes it's just good if you feel like your ribbon might not be perfect, just to go a little bit down. And yes, I'm much more happy with the ribbon on my cuffs over here. Yeah, I mean, I was actually, once I finished 2 sleeves, I was thinking that the cardigan will be done in no time, but I should say that double knit button band took a lot of time, because I have 2 strands of West Yorkshire Spinners and Mohair here in the cardigan. In the pattern it says that you need it on decay weight and then the double knit button band in fingering, and I wasn't quite sure what's the best way for me to go with my yarn combination. So at first I was thinking of actually holding all 3 strands together, but when I started knitting, I just didn't like, again, my double knit button band didn't look very neat. I feel like stitches were too big. So I've restarted it and held just 2 strands. So 1 lace weight West Yorkshire Spinners and Mohair. And it went actually a bit better. Though I still think that I could have picked up less stitches. In the pattern, it's suggested to pick up 2 stitches per your, like 1 half fisherman's row V. I think I could have done with a bit of less of that, because I feel the double knit button band kind of expanded quite a bit. It's not that noticeable. I think it's just I realized that maybe I would like the double knit button band to be like not so stretchy, I guess, over here, but it still looks good. So not a big deal here. And I think the double knit button band is the only thing in the pattern where I would like a little bit more guidance, I guess, because I found it quite tricky to pick up stitches, like 2 stitches in one half fisherman's rib. There was a small picture in the pattern, so I knew I have to pick up 2 stitches per 1 stitch in half fisherman's rib. And while I did it, I'm not sure if I did it right. I mean, it does look okay, so I must have done a good job, but it's just one area where I wasn't quite sure how to pick up myself. And it's not something you can easily, I just tried to Google it, but I couldn't find anything. So I did what I did, and I'm glad it kind of worked out. And to be honest, last months, I believe in my podcast, I was saying how I'm sure the cardigan will be done, but to be honest, it wasn't that quick. Again, mostly due to double knit button band and due to the fact that we had another heat wave, went on holiday. So I've just recently finished it, just right before another heat wave in the UK, and yeah, my daughter loves it quite a bit. When I finished it, kind of tried it on, and I felt that, I mean, it fits reasonably snugly. I thought it's still okay, but for my daughter who is growing so quickly, I thought that I would want a bit more space. So I was very relieved when I washed and blocked this garment, and it grew so much. So a piece of warning for anyone who is doing half fisherman's rib, this cardigan or maybe another project, it seems the half fisherman rib grows, especially like in length, because I remember in length it wasn't as long. Most definitely it's okay for my daughter, she's tall and she's growing, so I'm not worried, even though now it looks reasonably oversized on her. It just means that she will get a bit more alive, you know, throughout those years that she has before she grows out of it. But for any of us who are a bit worried, I think you should be very careful with half fisherman's rib. I was very surprised. Again, I can only compare it now to AgNet cardigan, which is a brioche cardigan I've knitted, just finished a couple of months ago. And yeah, AgNet, while it again relaxed and grew a bit, it was nothing like half fisherman's rib. So again, the designer warns you in the pattern, but sometimes it's hard to believe it up to this point, but it is true, grows really a lot. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. As you can see, I have some buttons. My daughter wanted me to use this kind of lilac color on the buttons. Don't know if the camera will show, but yeah, really cute. She's very happy, but of course this project will be used already in autumn, unless we are going to have very, very cold summer in the UK. But at the moment, it seems to be the other way around. Yeah, I think that's enough talking about this cardigan. I'm surprisingly, I don't have another cardigan on my needles at the moment, but not for long. I'll talk about it later. And just while I remembered, we do have a small chat in Instagram where we're discussing the cardigans we're making with a few other knitters. So if you're after some inspiration, or you also would like to knit more cardigans, feel free to join, so we can, you know, get inspired. And now I have another finished project, and these are the pair of socks I've made. As you can see, they have this cute pointel detail and heel flap and gasset. I can continue with the pointel detail further on. And yeah, that's it. So these are inspired by another pattern, which I'm sure I discussed in last podcast, because it didn't really have any sizing per se. And yeah, I decided that in this case, I'll just knit my own. So what's interesting here, I've used 2mm needles because I've used quite a thin yarn. I used Mondim by Rosa Pomar, which is 100% Portuguese wool. It is sock yarn though. Quite a lot of people use it. I've used it once, and unfortunately I used 225mm needles, and my socks quite quickly develop holes. So this time around I wanted to knit tighter, as well as I did some reinforcement. So in a couple of areas here at the heel, you can probably see there's another strand. So I added a strand of like embroidery silk, which I just had lying around, as well as actually here at the end of the toe area. These are the areas where my socks are more likely to wear out. I'm curious how it's gonna work, because again, silk should add some durability to the wool, and I guess we'll see in a few months' time if this work paid off. Overall, it's very easy lace pattern, took me no time, was very easy to make. I quite enjoy working with Mondim for socks. It is a bit woolly, it's not a merino, but at the same time is reasonably soft, so not something I would want to wear in summer, but I'm sure as the weather turns, these socks will get a lot of wear. And aren't they looking cute? Absolutely love. Yeah, I think I got a little bit influenced by all the pointelle designs lately. And now straight away we're moving on to my whips, and let me just start with the most recent one. If you watched my summer knitting plans, which I've just released recently, you would know that this was very high on my agenda. And since I, of course, cast it on, what I did cast on is Florence Bag by PetiteKnit. I really wanted to knit this bag probably for over a year now. I went to Tversted, to Denmark. Isager store is located there, and I bought 3 balls of Japansk Bomuld, so Japanese cotton from Isager, and here they are. I believe the color is 59, so it is a very different cotton. You almost feel it's like paper. Let me just show you closer. It's really, really cool to work with. I worked once with this yarn before, but I held 1 strand with Mohair, so it's quite thin, but now I'm holding 3 strands, and I'm using, I believe, 3.5mm needles. Let me just double check. Yes, 3.5. So even though 1 strand is quite thin, I believe it's about 300 meters in 50 grams. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I hope. But 3 of them on 3.5mm needles, and as you can see, that's my progress. I've literally cast on quite recently, so it kind of goes really, really quickly, but it is a very different experience knitting with this yarn held triple, to be honest. In terms of knitting experience, I don't enjoy it as much as I did back then, because I think simply due to the tighter gauge, it's just tough on your hands. Still, I think this is compensated by how quickly this project grows, to be honest, because I probably spent maybe a couple of days working on it. And just to be clear, because it's hard in my hands, I probably didn't spend more than like half an hour each time at each increment, because I literally would work a couple of rows, maybe like 4 to 6 rows, and would just give my hands a break. It is actually quite tough. This 100% cotton, it doesn't have any elasticity whatsoever, and yeah, I feel my hands get tired and I would like to protect them, so I don't really work non-stop on this. However, the lace motif on the other hand, right here, let me just show you a little bit closer. It is really, really simple. It is a 2-row repeat. And I think after a couple of rows, I didn't need to even bother to look at the pattern. It's just so easy and memorable. So in a way, it kind of offsets how hard it is to knit with this yarn. But again, because I have those 3 balls I'm knitting with, I don't really find this is a portable project for me. As you can see, these balls can easily get tangled. The yarn being so inelastic just easily gets tangled, and it's just quite messy. I actually put these 3 balls in one bag just to kind of prevent, you know, the mess. Like right now, I already have a mess, so just have to be a bit more careful with this yarn. But I'm really, really excited about this pattern. Really easy to make, hoping for success, and so much so that I was quite quick. Let me just show you. I straight away I decided I don't really want to bother with sourcing additional materials for this bag, so there was a shop in the UK, I believe Knit and Living, where I just purchased all the additional bits and pieces you need for a bag, which is, this is a zip, and this should be a leather strap, and I believe, yeah, and that's the lining, and here's actually the bag, yeah, so, and that's the lining. So I have everything I need to finish, and let me just put it all back, and with the Heatwave again, I really feel like I would like a summer bag. So yeah, I'm quite excited to continue working on this bag, and if it continues to grow the way it did, I think, yeah, I'm hoping I can be done with it in no time. And now moving from the newest whip to the oldest one, I think, and if you've been here before, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my MATCHA jumper version 3. I won't stay long on this subject because I've talked so many times before, but to quickly point out, while I'm not working that regularly on this, I feel it's getting too hot and I'm a little bit demotivated, I think, until autumn to work on this sweater. Still, I was able to finish my whole body, even the ribbing I finished, and I did my sewn bind off. One thing I've changed the needle. I don't recall what was the suggested needle size for ribbing, but I went down by 0.25 because when I started doing the ribbing, I noticed it to flare out a bit, and to be honest, in quite a lot of projects on Ravelry it does that, because here before you hit ribbing you do need to add quite a lot of stitches as well. So I feel you have to be very careful with the amount of stitches you add, and then subsequently the needle size you have as well. So now what's left are the sleeves, and at the moment I wouldn't say I put into hibernation, but I kind of want to concentrate on knitting my summer garments rather than my MATCHA jumper. I think maybe in August and September my motivation will kick in a bit more than it is right now. I really don't feel like working with Mohair. I don't know. We need to cool down a little bit, I think, for that. And speaking of cooling down, the reason I have made so much progress on my next whip is because it was just so hot. We went on holiday end of May because kids had their holiday, half term at school. So we decided to go on holiday to Wales, which was to drive to Wales and do a few bits and pieces there. And I have never expected to be hot in Wales. You normally expect Wales to be quite cool. I'm living in the southeast of the UK, and it's usually cooler there, at least 5 degrees cooler than here, and rainier. We were there and it was plus 30 degrees as well. I couldn't believe it, which meant that I took with me a couple of knitting projects, but I have mostly worked on my Cumulus Tee by PetiteKnit, mostly because I didn't really want to work with any mohairs or wool. So instead I worked with plant-based fiber. And as you can see, I think last time I talked to you, I've just maybe split for sleeves or just connected the v-neck, and look at that. Oh, I don't know if it shows how much progress has been done, but a significant amount, because I'm using my, I believe, 3mm needles here. Yes, 3mm needles, and yeah, it's obviously an ongoing project. The interesting thing here, I was on holiday when I was knitting away, and I kind of felt that it did look a little bit bigger than I expected, and I decided right there just to wash it, not like block per se, but I washed it and let it dry, and I expected, or I rather hoped, that it would stitch in a bit, but it didn't happen, which means that I'm off gauge despite my swatches. It is what it is. So what I decided to do, I was pondering if I have a heart to, rib back, I don't know, 10 centimeters of my work by that time on 3mm needles, and I decided not to do it because I don't mind if I have a little bit more positive ease. But I thought what I would do instead is I create a few decreases on the side, on each side, and I believe I have done actually all of them. It is 7 decreases on each side. Because I thought my gauge was different to the pattern, I started knitting size 3, but now with all those decreases I'm basically going back to size 1. So it is still kind of reasonably light. We'll see how it goes. I mean, at the moment I find it quite difficult to picture. I tried it on, seems nice, though obviously a bit more oversized, but I hope that my decreases would help to create a slightly nicer shape for the tee, despite it being slightly larger than I intended. So at the moment I'm on the 3rd ball of my Arctic Pearl by Pasquale, and what I'm thinking of doing, I'm thinking of finishing the 3rd ball on the body wherever it would take me anyway, and then in order to understand how it sits on me properly, I would like to go and do the I-cord aging here, and possibly even do the sleeves as well. So by the time whatever I have left of the 4th ball, I can continue on until either I need to or I decide to finish. So that's my plan for Cumulus Tee. Again, quite happy with the progress. Now, honestly, I didn't expect to have so much done, but yeah, maybe even can I finish by the next podcast? let's see. Now, I have yet another project which is kind of on and off on my needles. There is no rush, but I was a bit struggling with knitting color work again on small circumferences. So one of the ladies in my knitting group, she suggested to try like flexi needles, and she gave me some, and look what I have. These are my Nordic Mittens, and it's a pattern in the book that I have. I'm sure I've shown it before. I've tried originally to use my 9-inch circulars by Chagu, but the circumference here is even smaller than for the socks, so I was really struggling, and I'm not very good with double pointed needles for color work. So yeah, so I decided to try these flexi needles, and if you're like me and you're not into magic loop, these could actually be an answer. And I have knitted quite a little bit of the pattern, and I really enjoyed it actually. I guess it's just kind of the mix between the magic loop and just normal needles, and I don't know, I feel like it gives me a lot more flexibility. With mittens especially, it's very easy because you don't really mind if even some kind of ladder stitches are on the side, though I personally don't think I have anything. So yeah, I think it's okay in my case. But I liked these flexi needles so much that I actually purchased myself. I still need to return these, and I got these from Adi. And what I really liked about them is that one side is actually, I don't know, if you see if I can show you, one side of these is quite sharper, and one is quite blunt. So again, you can use the sharper side if you like it, and you use the blunter side just to make sure it doesn't kind of hit you anywhere in places you don't want to hit. And yeah, so I highly recommend to try something like this if you're like me, because I really would like to do more color work, but like mittens and maybe socks. And yeah, so I bought this 225mm needles for that. To be honest, I would have made more progress on these mitts if not the realization that the way the pattern is structured is not something I expected, I guess. I've only knitted one pair of mittens before, and the way in that pattern was like songbird mittens, and the way it was structured in that pattern is that I was slowly increasing for the thumb, and at some point I just left those stitches on a spare cord, or I guess waste yarn. However, here you don't actually apparently create any additional stitches, you just take some from the body, and it's only now realized that you can see they're quite small. Therefore, my son, and while his hands are smaller than mine, I feel that if I take some stitches out, they would be even smaller, and this is not something I want. So I would like to rework the pattern by actually creating a different thumb in here, and which is why I think this project, again, on and off, sometimes in the evenings, I don't feel like doing a lot of mental load on me. I just want to knit. So we'll see. Again, there is no rush because I would like this to be ready for autumn, but just something that I really enjoy. I do enjoy color work. Yeah, so it's a bit unfortunate that I have to do some maths and try to work out how to do these. And my last, I believe, whip, but rather the beginnings of it, I've finally received a yarn which I ordered way before I started my yarn ban in April, and yes, it took some time, but when I received it I just couldn't really not cast on. So what I've ordered is 100% Corriedale yarn. So I looked it up. So a Corriedale is apparently a mix of a merino and long wool breed sheeps, because I tried it on, I was like, this is actually quite soft, which makes total sense. It's blend of merino and another sheep. So the advantage of Corriedale is that it is as soft, or almost as soft as merino. It's not probably as soft, but still very soft. But it still has a lot more durability due to the longer staple length that the other breed gives. And because of that, it is supposed to be a good yarn to knit socks with. So even though this is 100% Corriedale, it is quite, it has a quite high twist, so it is suitable for socks. And again, I've tried this pattern a bit before, but the yarn wasn't suitable, wasn't as elastic. Well, this is 100% wool, so it's very elastic yarn. And while it's not much probably at the moment, because I had to do provisional cast on for this sock, and later I will just sew it down. So I'm yet at the point to sew it down, which is why it looks a bit wonky. But yes, I'm very excited working it. I just couldn't. I just needed to try this yarn. So this is actually a non-superwash Corriedale 100% wool by Zakami Yarns, a hand dye here in the UK, and the name is Healing Symphony. I had the same colorway for my Oslo hat, but in different. I think I had just a non-superwash merino, while this is Corriedale, but I really like this color. This is, oof, it's not pink, it's not quite red, I feel like it's in this kind of medium spectrum of brightness to me, and something I actually really like personally. So really like this color, and I think it suits me, though no one will see in my socks, of course, but I will, and I like to knit with colors that bring me a lot of joy here. So I will continue knitting socks. So these are Hanano Socks by Yuka. As I said, I tried them before. These are not the easiest, I think, pattern to do, but yeah, I feel Yuka's patterns are patterns that you knit if you would like to up your sock game. She always has a lot of interesting bits there that not every designer includes, but I guess if you're into just knitting vanilla socks, I mean, why not? I think I always feel like I would like some interest apart from just regular stockinette on my socks. And yeah, so which is why I have beautiful yarn. And again, I'm trying to work with non-superwash and non-nylon blend. I'm hoping maybe in autumn, because I've knitted already quite a few socks with non-superwash, but I feel like I would like to give them a little bit of wear before I give my opinion on that. But maybe in autumn I can get you some kind of recommendations in terms of yarns you can use when you would like to knit socks with a non-superwash or non-nylon blends, because they're out of there, but it is actually a lot harder to get than just a regular 75-25 wool nylon blend. Okay, let me just put it all back. Before we move on to plans and acquisitions, I would like quickly to give you an update on my embroidery project, which I believe I shared once before. I'm on a deadline with this project, so it goes quite quickly, and as you can see, I have quite a lot of progress by now. So this is a simple, I guess, one color cross stitch on Aida 16 fabric. I'm not an expert in that, but I was inspired, and I would like to make a nice picture out of it. So here in the center, it is quite a big and popular symbol in Ukrainian embroidery, and not only. It is berehinya. Berehinya is like a guardian of a house, something that protects and keeps you safe. And I think, especially now in Ukraine, I think this is a very special symbol you would like to keep. So yeah, what I'm doing, because I'm on a deadline for this project, I'm trying to do at least like one thread each day. So even though I'm not working that much on it, I feel the progress was quite significant. So I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, I'm really happy. And I think embroidery is really nice to work in summer while you still have warm days. And again, while the heat is on, I'm kind of leaning towards embroidery more than knitting sometimes. And now moving on towards my plans and acquisitions. In terms of plans, I don't think I have much to show you. I've made my summer knitting plans video quite recently, though I already have to deviate from it. It's just such as life, I guess. But I was accepted to test knit a new V-neck cardigan by Stitch in Sweden. I really enjoy watching the podcast of hers, and I was very excited when she mentioned that she's after a quite nicely fitted cardigan. And as you know me, I'm on a kick this year to knit more cardigans. So I was very excited and applied to test knit and was accepted. Very luckily, she was able to get some discount for us for a yarn, just knitting for olive, but I haven't received it, so I can't show you. But the design is gorgeous, and I'm really excited as soon as I receive the yarn to start working. So it's kind of my plan number one, because again, I have a deadline. Sometimes I try not to have deadlines of my knitting because your mood changes, but yeah, I couldn't resist that cardigan, I'm afraid. As for other acquisitions, I was actually really proud of myself. In my first 2 months of being on Yarn Ban, I didn't buy anything. I only received actually a couple of bits, like this one from Sakami I mentioned, Coriadale. Again, I ordered it before April. It took a while to arrive, but as I say, isn't it a gorgeous color? Love it. And the second purchase I also have is this Fiber Fox Merino color club I have. I'm gathering these in order to make a blanket. Not a sweet shop blanket, the other blanket by Laura Penrose quilt shop, something blanket. I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember, but I'm getting to the point where I have enough of these to start, but I think I would like to wait for autumn so I can start when it gets colder and I can spread the warmth around me with a blanket. So that's another acquisition. Again, I think I placed the order way before April, so I didn't break my yarn ban, but I ordered something that broke my yarn ban, and let me show you. If you're a regular viewer of this podcast, you're well aware of this yarn. I really like this is West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite lace yarn, which is 80% Falkland wool and 20% mulberry silk. And unfortunately, this yarn has been discontinued, and I absolutely love it. And not only has been discontinued, I noticed that in Wool Warehouse, which was selling this yarn, they had about, I don't know, 30 skeins left, and I went through my yarn stash and I realized I literally have a couple of skeins of this, probably enough to make one garment. And I thought long and hard and decided that I really love this color. This is not the color you can get easily in commercial yarns at all, and actually very hard to get in hand-dyed as well. Very hard color to come across. So I decided to purchase a few skeins, understanding that I won't be casting it on anytime soon, possibly. But this color suits me, I think. This color suits my daughter as well. So I have quite a lot of options, and I decided that it's okay. I would actually want to have this yarn in my stash in case I would like to need something special, because this yarn is special for me. I think that's all I wanted to talk to you today, and yeah, let me go back and cool down. Hope wherever you are, you're trying to stay cool and hydrated and still enjoy some knitting. Maybe not with woolen yarns, but maybe summer knitting on the way. So if you're doing some summer knitting, please let me know what kind of patterns are currently on your needles. I'm quite curious because my summer knitting is a bit more flaky, I found. So I'm curious what other people are up to in summer months. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing, like this video, and I'm hopefully going to see you in my next one. Thank you.